All right, the time's 2:01 there. We've got it me unmuted and we've got my screen shared. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is going to cover the digital deterrent that we said. So our kind of outline for this class will be background into digital deterrent. We'll talk about the different models, specific different ways to access the camera, how to set up motion area, how to set up intrusion tied to a digital deterrent. What notifications can we do and how we set those up, and how to set up line crossing and tripwire, and then how to do notifications from it, how to turn on and off the microphone, how to turn on and off the automated messages, and we'll talk a little bit about which cameras do which. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start off on the Speco website. We're going to show you a few resources first that will allow you to be able to demo it to customers. Under our solutions tab, solutions demo, you'll see a few demos we have, including the face detection demo, the license plate recognition demo, the quad view camera, and down at the bottom, the digital deterrent video demo. So if we select it, it will pull up a video. And this is just an overview of showing you what happens in the event of, we've set up the intrusion area of the dumpster. Let's let this load a little bit and we'll go ahead and push play, and there you go. You'll see the individual coming into the boxed off area. So this is a live look into the camera here of what that camera is doing. And if you can hear the automated messages saying you're trespassing on private property, please leave the area immediately. So this is just a live look into the camera and also a live feed from what the camera is doing. This is the 04TDD1M, which is the Deterrent Dome. We'll show you this product here in just a second. So this is just a quick demo if you have customers that want to see what is the digital deterrent all about. It's easy just to log onto the website, show them this demo, or forward them the link. You can do so by selecting the three dots here and download this and then send it out. Also, we have under the solutions tab, you will see the digital deterrent tab. So what this is going to be is just a overview of the digital deterrent. It's going to have just a little bit of marketing material, a little bit about the detect, alert, deter, because that's what if we go into the background of the digital deterrent, it is not only to just detect crime, but to deter crime. And so we have the detect features utilizing the video analytics that Speco offers. Also the alert. So once we detect that, we're able to do alerts when these specific events come in, and then you can filter those events so that you're only seeing events that are mission critical to your need. Then we have the deter aspect, that where not only are we detecting and alerting, but we're able to simultaneously, whether that's one camera or multiple digital deterrent cameras on our system, we're able to deter those crimes or those people from continuing to do what they were doing. And if you want a little overview video, there's one here of Justin Taylor that's demoing the digital deterrent and talking a little bit more about it. It's more of a, I guess, marketing piece there. So if you want to know more about the product info of what is the product line of the digital deterrent, we can select on product information there and scroll down, and you'll see the two highlighted products, which we're going to talk about as far as product specs. So we'll move right into that. It's going to be the 04BDD1M and the 04TDD1M. Those are both a motorized, that's what the M on the last of the product number is. Also, the DD stands for digital deterrent. The bullet is going to be the B, and the deterrent dome is going to be the TD. So some quick features about, before we go into the spec sheets about the digital deterrent. So the bullet camera is going to have your built-in speaker and your built-in strobes, which are a red and a blue flashing light. It does not have a built-in mic with it, but it does come with a back box. The Deterrent dome camera is going to come with a built-in speaker and a built-in mic, as well as the built-in strobes that are both blue and red. We do have the capabilities, as I'll show you a little bit later on in this demo, to be able to change the feature set of that camera to do either talk back, which is going to be the playing of the 12 pre-recorded messages or your personal message, or it's going to be the feature to be able to do talk down, which is utilizing that built-in mic to talk through your phone app or your PC to talk through that camera. you cannot use both features at one time. That's important to note. It also does come with a back box as well. So a few other cameras that we have here are going to be the DD1. So the DD1 and the DD2 will be our next two cameras that we kind of highlight here for our digital deterrent lines. We do have the capabilities here of doing multiple daisy chain voice messages with our both DD1 and DD2 options. The DD1 is our indoor digital deterrent alert box with built-in strobe. It does offer a 4 megapixel IP bullet camera with advanced analytics. So it still has all your facial recognition. It still has your people, vehicle detection, line crossing, object abandonment, object missing. So all the analytics that you're looking for there, it's packed full of them. And it does offer the audible selectable voice messages too. One of those being you're trespassing on private property. There is a dip switch that if we took out these 4 screws that we can change this to 3 pre-recorded messages. So this would be our DD1 camera, and we'll demo quite a bit from this today. This is more of a commercial industrial solution. The ability to be able to link multiple cameras together for that voice message is pretty powerful on a deterrent aspect. We'll talk a little bit more about. So a good use case would be if we had a warehouse that was 60,000 square feet and we had a total of 16 cameras outside, we could use the DD1s or DD2s if it's covered under an eave. Or protected from the elements. And we're able to simultaneously, if we see an intruder, so we can set a schedule on one camera or all cameras that gives it where if during off hours, if there's a person or a vehicle in this parking lot, trigger the strobes, trigger the voice message. So not only can we have this one voice message strobe going off, we can have all of them going off because somebody entered the parking lot past certain hours. You can also utilize these inside in warehouses or large storage facilities to where you want an audible message. And it can integrate with your alarm system as well too, to where you can utilize your recorder to be able to trigger your alarm system. Certain analytic events can run from an output of the camera or the recorder. So we can have an output of an event, which we'll demo later, trigger things like your recorder, trigger things like your access control panel, or trigger things like your alarm panel. So the DD1 too, this voice box, this is probably one of my favorite ones out of all of our digital deterrent cameras. This voice box you can probably hear from 200 or 300 feet is what my personal experience has been with it. And when you fire those in, so if I have multiple ones in running, if one event triggers all of them, which we'll show in a demo later, they're all played in sequential voice messages too, which is pretty unique. There's no overlaps or delay. It's all one message. So they're firing simultaneously. The next one will be our DD2. So our DD2 camera is also going to offer our 4 megapixel IP bullet camera with advanced analytics and siren. It does have an indoor-outdoor digital deterrent, which consists of the alert box, which is a siren inside of the box, and it also has the built-in floodlight. So upon any type of analytic event, whether what we have programmed into it to look for or happen, you can have the light kick on, and also you can have the siren going off. And I will demo this to you a little bit later on. So now, where do we take this? You know, all of these cameras are both accessible through our in-series recorder. So now if we use, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hop into, I'm going to utilize my dashboard. For those that aren't familiar with our SecureGuard dashboard, our dashboard is our web-based dealer console that allows you quick access into all of those sites in the field that you might have, also giving you health checks of what's going on with those sites. But more importantly for me, I use it as a demo. All my demo sites are on here, so I have quick access to them, and I can't tell you how handy it is to not have to deal with IP addresses, what ports I've forwarded. I just use the Speco QR code set up, add it to my dashboard through the ad site, and then it drops in here nice and neat for me. So for the demo site we'll use today, we're going to pull up, we have a couple of DD1s, and as you can see, I'm utilizing the dashboard. This site is running the 1.47 version firmware that's required to be able to give you full functionality through the dashboard. And so what it's doing now is it's utilizing our connect.specotech.cloud portal. You can utilize the connect.specotech.cloud portal without using the dashboard to get into any of your recorders. You'd simply just open up Google Chrome, assuming that your recorder is running the 1.47, and then you would enter in connect.specotech.cloud up top in your browser, just like this. And then you hit return, and then it would show you, we'll just do it for you. As you see here, it gives you them, you just enter the QR code of the recorder, the username and password, and hit log in. So while we're on here, we'll talk about a little bit about this application and how we utilize the digital deterrents, the digital deterrent cameras in here, and we'll also highlight a few other of our white light intensifier cameras, which are not technically a digital deterrent, but I personally would classify. I'll show you some playback recordings of nighttime to where once the lights go off, the white light intensifiers come on. And to me, in a commercial environment, that's a very handy thing to have, that even though that my lights are off in the store, I still utilize a light on the camera to give me full color, but also to show people that there are still lights on, and yes, it's coming from a camera. So a little bit about the digital deterrents we have here. If we were to pop into side parking lot left, this is going to be our 04B7MN. This is our DD1 camera. And then also we have our DD1 camera. And this is rated as an indoor camera. I do mount that they're mounted under about a 6-foot eave, so I know that I have zero rain that's going to be coming into them. So a few different use cases. These particular cameras, obviously there's warehouse, entrance, storage in the back of the facility. So we wanted to be able to make sure that we were monitoring traffic coming from the road, which is going to be, if I pull up 4 camera screens here, pull up a few different cameras that we want to work with. Here, we're going to go look at this one right here. You'll see that there's road entrance here and then traffic through the area. Also with video verification, this is at a dispensary, so we do video verification outside, and it's about being able to, it's okay for somebody to drive through. If somebody stops or dwells, then I want to be notified, or at least have that monitoring station when they receive that 10 or 20-second clip. I want them to be able to see if somebody stopped or if it's something that they need to ignore or to dispatch the police on. So let's pull up alley right here over here, and then we'll pull up alley left on this side. So the bottom 2 cameras are going to be our DD2 cameras, and then the top camera is going to be our DD1 cameras. So remember, the DD1 cameras are going to be utilizing the automated messages if you're trespassing on private property, and then the strobe, and then the bottom 2 on the alley, you're going to be utilizing the light and the siren feature. Let's see, we got a question here. Somebody recognizes that accent. So if you're near Tennessee, that's where I'm from, is East Tennessee. Pardon if it takes a minute to get used to. So back to where we're at here, we've got our 2 DD2 cameras, our 2 DD1 cameras. So what we can do with these cameras is if I go into, first I'm going to show you how that they're set up. So by going into settings, camera, oops, let this look. I went to the wrong things here. Setting AI event, because anything that we're doing that involves analytics is going to be under the AI and event tab. We'll talk a little bit about event notifications shortly, and also our digital deterrents when we get to them. For now, we're working with the DD1 and the DD2. So if I go to AI and event, and remember, I'm remoting into this unit. So I am network dependent upon my network connection and also that site's network connection. But with our connect.specotech.cloud, I do have direct access and feature-rich options into the recorder, just like I was sitting behind it. So if we looked at the first camera, we'll go to side parking lot right. All the analytic options we have here are opened up. Whatever options I don't have are grayed out. So I know that I'm running intrusion on this area because I've pre-programmed this, and it's been running now for a while. So this particular instance here, we have I've set up intrusion zone, and the way that I've done that, I'll just go ahead and clear it and show you again. So I'm able to come in here, and first you got to turn on the feature by enable detection by IP camera. And then I'm going to simply select, I can clear off, it was by default, it's going to be the whole screen. If I want a custom one, I can take my mouse and click, 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 click. So that's going to box off the whole area for me. But because this is an area that does allow access into that back area, to get a little bit more specific, I'm going to box off an area that allows for traffic, because my concern is if somebody's around the building after that business is closed. So I'm going to box off the section that mainly I'm concerned about. On the right here, you'll see that schedule. So I have pre-made a schedule that is for nighttime hours. You can select a schedule and then select edit and create a custom schedule yourself. So I've selected a schedule that is from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And remember that this is 12 a.m. midnight or 12 p.m. It's 12 a.m. break. So you have to select on which side of the 12 a.m. break you want, and then it'll show you your time here. That gets a little confusing. So make sure that the times are right that you wanted right here to make sure you selected the right area. So I've pre-selected that nighttime. You do have the option to do an appear and a cross. For me, I can do appear because I want the duration of the event to be for 5 seconds. And if I wanted to draw multiple lines, I could draw up to 4 intrusion areas on one zone. So I'm going to apply that. I think we had somebody raise their hand there. If you'll just drop any questions in the chat box, then we'll get to them as we go, or we'll get to them at the end. So the next step is to come over to detection target and tell it, what are we looking for? Are we looking for a human, a motor vehicle, or a non-motor vehicle? So also we can adjust the sensitivity. A good way is that we're going to lower the sensitivity or raise the sensitivity. So if for instance, a lot of people with humans, if I wanted to be able to get a dog, for me, I want to be able to see if my dogs are out of their gate. So I run human detection outside the dog lot, and I've got my sensitivity lowered. So that way that it's going to allow the AI bot to see different things as what could be construed as a human. So you can adjust the sensitivity to try to increase the accuracy or decrease the accuracy, we'll say. But you're not going to get things like motion events of trees blowing, clouds. It's going to be specifically things that are moving, larger scale, humans, dogs, cats, animals, and how you want that. You can adjust custom and just play with it until you get to where you need. Let's see here. Using that box, as we have a similar setup at our office, how can we stop the false alarms at night with vehicles passing and road outside the box still sending alerts? It's a great question, and as I demo a little farther on here, I think you'll if we don't answer that, then you can yell at me at the end of it, and I'll make sure I get a little more specific. But I'm going to show you different programming techniques, especially on the next 2 cameras, that will allow you to be able to really pinpoint what you're looking for. So the next step would be trigger mode. So we have set the parameters of where we're looking, what we're looking for under the detection target. Now we're telling it what to do when that happens. So, there's 2 different ways that you can discuss this. Our trigger, our alerts, our trigger in general is going to be more of if I want to be notified of that event. That's if me personally, I want to be notified, or I want somebody to be notified. So from here, we have the ability to be able to take a snapshot and save it, to be able to do a push notification. And that push notification is going to go to the app. The buzzer notification is going to be a buzzer sound at the recorder. The pop-up video is going to be an actual pop-up video on the screen. So if we had a guard that was watching and we had multiple cameras around 20-some, 30-some cameras around a commercial building, one person sitting there behind a desk, he doesn't have to watch all the cameras. He can just watch that screen. When a pop-up video comes, it's pretty noticeable. And then that tells him to go to that channel. We can also send out an email alert. If you want to do the email alert, you do have to go into network and set up your SMTP server information. If you need more information about that, Speco does offer an SMTP server that we use. So reach out to one of your salespeople. We'll see if we can't get you that. So obviously you'll see the next box is record, and it was recording already because I'm already in 24/7 recording. But what it's doing is it's creating that recording as a motion event or an analytic event this time. And that's where we have the ability to be able to program different frame rates per second based off of continuous recording or event recording. That's where this comes into play. So that you don't need to touch this by default. However you have your recording set up, it'll automatically drop that in there for you. And where this kind of gets fun is this next option here. So by default, I'm not going to see anything in the trigger alarm out. I'm just going to see my alarm out screen. So we'll talk a little bit about this alarm out screen. So the first four you see here is, and I've addressed this one as alarm system trigger. That's alarm output 1 on the recorder. Alarm output 2 is going to be our alarm system. Well, I've addressed it as alarm system siren. And I'll talk about that in a second, what it does. Alarm output 3, I'm not using. Alarm output 4, I'm not using. And then all these other cameras here that I've named, it's showing me all of the outputs that are available to use on the cameras. So I had predefined here. So we had side parking lot. Right here's my 2 side parking lot left, side parking lot right. If I move those over, and you'll see there, it says voice message. So what I've done is I've told it when you see a person, a vehicle, or an on-motor vehicle in this area during the time that I've selected, I want you to trigger the outputs on both of the cameras on that side of the building. And by hitting OK, it just drops them in here, and you'll see that. So when that event occurs, now I've triggered multiple cameras. If I wanted to say, okay, now instead of just triggering those 2 cameras, I want you to trigger my DD2 cameras that are on the other side of the building, which is my alley left and my alley right, you'll see that I can drop those over. So some more unique options that I can do. And so I told you I'd address these 2. I'll show you how to address those in just a second. Alarm system trigger. So I have the alarm output 1 from the recorder run into a zone on the alarm panel, and it's programmed as a silent alarm. So if I were to, a few different instances, if I pull my cameras up at night and I see somebody there or trying to break in, I can pull my alarm outs out of my camera app, from Speco Blue, and I can trigger that alarm system trigger and remotely trigger my alarm. Now, on number 2, alarm output 2, where it says alarm system siren, it's also going into a zone on the alarm panel and programmed for it only triggers the sirens on that panel and doesn't put it in alarm. So if I see something happening that I don't necessarily want the police dispatched from my alarm system, then I'm able to just trigger the sirens. For those that are thinking down the rabbit hole where I'm at, you can also put a TTL relay on any siren or strobe that you've powered up locally, and also run that into one of your alarm outputs through that TTL relay and do the same thing without utilizing an alarm system. There's multiple integrations that you can do. And what's also unique about this is that I can trigger different outputs that are not even that are on cameras. That camera might be 400 or 500 feet away, but I'm closer to a device that I want to trigger, whether that be a gate, a siren, the alarm panel where it happens to be located at. So it's very unique with Speco how we can utilize our alarm outputs and trigger multiple devices. So when we were showing the digital deterrents earlier, a little bit of background. So our turret dome and our bullet camera, the digital deterrents, these 2 currently cannot be grouped together. And a little bit of background why is that with the DD1 and the DD2, they're utilizing the alarm outputs on the camera to trigger the sirens and strobes. With the turret dome and the bullet camera with the digital deterrent, the siren and the automated messages are built into the camera's board. So it's not a component of the alarm output. This is something that we're working on with some future product releases, is the ability to be able to bring these into that same web. But currently, we're only able to do it through our DD1 and DD2. We have some things in the works also to be able to turn any camera into a DD1, DD2 camera as well. So follow along with us on that. And that's through the emails. You can get releases to new product information. So back about is the ability to be able to trigger alarms. So if I leave it be, you'll see here that now when this event occurs, I'm going to trigger all of these voice messages here. Some other unique aspects that we have is that, so I can also do presets too in the system. And a good idea is let's say we have that same warehouse that's got 4 cameras on each side of the buildings, looking at different areas of the parking lots. That's a total of 16 cameras. A really good practice is I like to be able to put a PTZ on each corner too with a pendant mount. We have 4 PTZs. We can go program a PTZ zone, a preset that is going to be a zone that will say camera 1 is seeing this area of the parking lot. By utilizing our smart tracking and our people, by utilizing our smart tracking on our PTZs, we can actually come in here, and if we had a PTZ on this system, I could select the preset of that PTZ. So if this event occurred, I could have that PTZ pan, tilt, or zoom over to what that camera is seeing. And then by utilizing our smart tracking features on that PTZ, it could pick up that person or motor vehicle from when the camera sees it, that triggered that alert, and then follow them until they get out of screen. And obviously, if we have multiple PTZs, then you can do, if they come in this screen, we're going to trigger that camera would then trigger this PTZ or the other PTZ to move to this area. So again, some really unique and easy to program features that we can do through the alarm outputs of the DD1 and DD2 cameras. Now, so what does this look like? Trying to think about how we're going to jump. All right, so I will go ahead and show you, and I'm going to answer that question before we move into the digital deterrent features of the AI. To answer the question that was asked, how do we minimize our false alarms at nighttime using not only our DD1 camera, but any of our cameras? So a few things that I'm going to recommend, that if we are doing under settings camera, if I'm having video verification done, or I'm doing monitoring of an area based off of AI, there's a few things that I'm going to do. First, I'm going to come into the motion settings, and I'm going to go to that camera that I'm looking for. And for those that aren't familiar with the motion settings, all I'm doing is selecting a specific area on the screen that I want motion recording to occur. But getting back to the question there, we'll just apply that. If I go to one of these cameras here that I'm doing motion recording, or that I'm doing AI detection on, and specifically I'll demo oops, not this one. Sorry, I got stuck there. I know why, because so obviously everybody there, I got stuck because I was only able to see the number of cameras that I see here. And we all learn something every day, or we forget something. So to keep in mind, same thing here. I'm seeing the cameras that are on that drop down. If I need to get to the rest of my cameras, I'm going to come over here and select page 2. And that's going to show me the camera that I was looking for, which was the rear alley cameras. But you'll see here, there's a few different things. If I go to this camera, then I go to alley left, DD2. Some important things to do if you're trying to do analytic detection is turn off the motion recording for that camera. And the reason why is, especially if you're trying to get alerts based off of analytics, is motion is basically a precursor of any analytic event. It's just taking motion, and then the AI bot is saying, is this the shape or size? Is this a person, or is the vehicle? And classifying it that way, or, and that's to sum it up. So if you want notification based off of AI and not motion, you must turn off your motion recording or your motion notifications. And it can be on just that particular camera. And I'll show you some different, again, so turn them off. Make sure you apply that. Don't think I applied that. All right. And then we're going to go back to the other ones here, and you'll see that and the reason why too is you're going to get a whole lot less events. We're going to rely on our AI to do the analogy of, is this a motion event, or is this a human or vehicle? So that'll answer that question there. Turn off your motion recording or your motion notifications and your motion recording if you want to get just AI notifications and want to increase the accuracy. So under our intelligent analytics is going to be where we're going to start searching for different things that happened. So let's see here. We're going to search for, actually, I'm going to go into playback to make it a little bit easier. So in playback, I'm going to select the 2 alley right DD2 camera and my alley left DD2 camera. And I want everybody to see here up top here, top of recording, you'll see here that I have all these different layers. So if I just went into play of these cameras, and again, let this load up here, and I'm going to see a toolbar on the bottom shortly. Once this loads up and I see the toolbar on the bottom, you'll see, it's very difficult for me to say, okay, during that time frame, and obviously remember we had AI set to only happen at night. So we're always doing our continuous recording in the background. We never miss anything, but it's about being able to filter these events and see what really mattered. And so you'll see here how this timeline is pretty congested. And if I zoom in on it, I'm going to see yellow as my motion event recording. And if I was doing notifications based off of this for the question that was asked, I would have got a notification for every motion event that occurred. So by turning that off, I'm able to eliminate that alert. So, but what I'm able to do is come in here and take off layers like my scheduled recording. I'm also able to come in here and take off my motion recording. And then I've got my sensor recording and my manual recording are the only things that are left. I'm not going to have any information there. What I want you to see now is that when we are zooming in on the screen here, you're going to notice that I only have, a few events that occurred. And as it sees, it's going to scroll through here and it's going to do my pre-record and then my little bit of post-record, then it's going to come to the next event. But what I want you to notice, especially for the question that was asked, is that as it scrolls through here, it's only going to show me there's not going to be any wind, there's not going to be anything rolling around. And when you see an event occur, we'll see what time the next one happens. You'll notice that a lot will kick on here on the left side. So let me go to a different day here. And we'll take that same criteria. And again, so you'll see that 1:33 a.m. you see the light kick on there, and that's the deterrent that you're going to get. And it's especially when there's very little light outside, we're able to utilize that white light technology too, of not having to kick into IR. But also, just there's only a little bit of ambient lighting here around here, and I'm still in full color, as you'll see there. And then the next event's occurring. So there's some things that I could do. Again, I have this whole entire area boxed off here for this road. We'll pull that up in settings here shortly. But I have this whole area just for this demo purpose. I can show you that every time that I have an event occur, that it's going to either be a person or a vehicle. It's not going to be, and if I've lowered any thresholds, it could be a dog. But again, you'll see the next one occurring here, an individual standing here at this car, and then a car driving by. So now if I was to turn off the vehicle detection, then all I'm going to start getting notifications on is AI events of people or vehicles if I have that turned on. And then we can, we'll go through and just select another random day. So in some things that I could do, if I wanted to be able to, this is a good one here too. So you'll see the light turn on, and that's what's unique about our digital deterrents is that, or even cameras that are set in places where you need a deterrent, is that this is a prime example. It is a perfect use case, and you'll see there it's a perfect demo case, is that you have to have some form of deterrent in certain areas, and whether that be a light, an automated message, something to alert people that, and you'll notice there's two here. There's one on the right side of the screen over here. I actually have this light turned off just for testing some other stuff. But it's very unique to be able to utilize these products as we have them and make it to where your system is a little bit smarter. So some things that I could do to this system, now that we've kind of showed you what the DD1, DD2 looks like on the aspect of the deterrent side of it, we'll get back into. We spoke earlier about when I was showing you the alarm outputs. Something unique to Speco is the ability to be able to address alarm outputs. And so we talked a little bit about the local alarm outputs and the camera alarm outputs earlier. we can actually come in here and name any of these alarm outputs. So if I were to put a siren on the system that had a just powered locally using a TTL relay, I can run it into alarm output 3, and I can change whether I want that as normally closed, normally open, change the delay of it, and also make a schedule to where it can only go off during certain times. But I have the capabilities of addressing a schedule, so that way when I pull up the app, or if I'm pulling up any software I'm using to view my cameras, I see it as siren local instead of local 3 alarm, which is very, very important in customizing all of your systems for the end user. You'll see here that I've got my side parking lot voice message here. Now, again, I don't see all my cameras. That's okay, because we're gonna have to go over one more page, and then I'm going to see the other cameras here, and you'll see that I've got my left. I've addressed them as alley left siren trigger, alley right siren trigger. So I have the capabilities of being able to know what I'm doing when I'm triggering these events from my app or from my console here. So some things that we can do we got another chat question here. As opposed to a nightly schedule, can the deterrent feature be turned on and off by arming and disarming of the alarm system on site on suspend for a period of time when a user accesses a gate with their access control tag? That would be more of an advanced kind of analytic rule, and we're not really going to get into that here. Currently, we don't have that capability of being able to arm and disarm. I will say this, that in our next, I think mid-June, July, we're going to be doing another update to the app that's going to be adding quite a bit more features. You will have the capabilities of being able to on demand turn on and off your digital deterrents from the app. And then a big reason for that is if you have, you're going to have workers in there tonight, you want the capabilities to be able to turn those off and then turn them back on when that time occurs. So, good question. Is something that I'll bring to our engineering team, and it might be possible, and I'll have to look into a little bit later from the rules of setting up like a combination alarm. And we do have the system disarm feature that works through the app, but it's going to be based off of an alarm output from the recorder, not necessarily an input, which is what you would want to do. So good question. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper later on. So some things that we could do to minimize where we wanted these events happening. So let's take our alley. Let's take specifically our alley right camera. We're going to look at the intrusion zone that we were working with. You'll see here, I just barely have this road triggered in here, and that's what's enough to trigger the event. But some things that I could do is I can come in here, clear all, and do more of a custom zone that only entails the area of the building that I want. Like something like that would give me more of an area to only trigger next to my building. But for just purposes of liking to see what's going on in this parking lot, I'm going to go ahead and get where I want it. There we go. And then we're going to apply that. And then also some different things if we move into our side parking lot, DD1, DD2, distance does matter. And as you can see, like this particular one here, I had them turned off prior to this webinar. So I'm not going to have any alerts to show you on this one. But some things that will help out is, distance, is that area of distance is going to matter. You're still going to, your false alarm rate's not going to change a whole lot. But if you want more of to increase the accuracy of your reads, if you're seeing any type of false alarm rates, keep distance, because this area right here, this camera is covering this whole entire parking lot, which, to be honest, this back area is a little bit of a stretch, but I've not had an issue with it. Rain comes in, stuff like that. Again, I've not seen any false alarms, but you're more subject to false alarms when you're doing a greater distance without being at a larger height. And then same thing as far as the right parking lot. Again, depth matters. If we're having cars that go by, we want to make sure that we leave those cars out of frame. Or if we're getting false alarms from people turning around, to lower the area that we give them a little bit of leeway. Would be two recommendations. So the next thing we're going to move into now is our digital deterrent tab of the recorder. So if we go to digital deterrent, it has its own tab under AI event, under event notifications, because it is a factor of our digital deterrent. So from here, you're going to see any digital, if we're in voice broadcast, you're going to see any digital deterrents that are attached to the system. And the two digital deterrents I have here, the future office and lobby overview 2. By selecting that, it's going to give us the option to be able to select any of the pre-recorded messages that are built into the camera. You just select the one you want and then hit apply. You can change the number of times that you want it to play. And then hit apply. You can also change the volume. If you don't like any of these 12 messages, that's okay, because you can come in here to add, and you can add your own message to it. It does have file format and restriction size, so make sure you are within this 200 kilobyte, and then also make sure it's a wave 16-bit, 8,000 hertz or monophobic, and you can upload up to 10 files to this as well too. So that's one way to customize the digital deterrent. Now you can only do this with our you can only do this with the 04T DD1M and the 04 DD1M, because it is built into the board and held on the board. So if we move over into, before we jump over here, two more aspects of the digital deterrent would be this light here. So this light again is going to show us any digital deterrent that's on that's any of the digital deterrents that I just showed you, the turret dome or the bullet. Not the DD1 and not the DD2. That's going to show you here. You can adjust the number of times the light flashes and then the flashing frequency from low, medium to high. So back to the digital deterrent tab. How do we turn on audio? That's the big thing too, because by default, cameras are going to come with the audio turned off, because we're not really sure as a manufacturer which state you're in. So it's just easier for us to have it turned off by default. You come on, turn it on if you want to use it. So before we hop off, we're going to keep on our digital deterrent. So let's get into our future office. That's our digital deterrent. So by default here, you're going to see audio device. It is on. We have two options here. We have a built-in mic, so it's going to utilize the built-in mic. Any camera we select that doesn't have a built-in mic will give you the line-in mic option. So if we have a line-in mic that we're utilizing, all we have to do is plug in a mic, power it to the back of that camera, and turn on the line-in mic option. You also have the capability of adjusting your input volume here. So we also get a lot of questions if I can't hear the mic, there's a lot of ambient sound, or it's too loud, it's too close. You do have the capabilities of adjusting the audio out, which is going to be through your speaker, and then also your input volume too, that how loud is that when you pull up your app and you turn the mic on. So you do have the capabilities we talked about alarm play and then also talkback. So under future office here, I want to be able to turn on the talkback feature if I want to be able to use that mic to talk through my app or talk through my any of the interfaces we're using to access that recorder. Or I can turn on the alarm play, which is going to be the 12 pre-recorded messages I selected. You can only turn on either or. You do have the option to change to a G711A and a G711U audio type. And then you simply select apply. I like to keep the talk back on. That way I can utilize that talk down feature, or if I want to pre-record messages. So if I had one at the entrance, think about a gas station, you walk in, it could say, hey, welcome to Wawa. Hey, welcome to Sitco. Welcome to Roadrunner. Welcome to whatever the store name is. The options are endless for what you wanted to put on your own camera. So also on other cameras too, let's look at a camera that's not a digital deterrent, since we're in this option here. All right, so you'll see here that I have the capabilities as well as enabling or disabling that mic. If it has a mic built in, I'm going to select there and then simply hit apply. But any of our digital deterrent cameras, like I said, you do have the option too of selecting the automated messages. Let's see if we've got a question here. Is the delay the time to sound or time of sound? So if you're talking about if we're talking about the delay in the alarm output settings, that's a delay until that it closes that relay. So once we open it, it's going to be 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever we've set it as is going to be until that normally open, normally closed relay is done firing. So just a little bit of a recap. We've covered the DD1 camera, we've covered the DD2 camera, we've covered the digital deterrent camera, we've covered the dome camera. So now let's get into how do we program our digital deterrent cameras to do the automated messages that they play and or the lights and sirens. So by going into settings, AI and event, we're going to go into AI and event. And so we can work off a few different platforms. First, we're going to select the camera we're looking for. Let's say the future office is a digital deterrent camera. So what you'll notice here is if I clear all, then I'm going to have the capabilities of coming in utilizing their line crossing. So if I wanted to say, okay, if this is an office and if somebody's there after hours, I want to utilize my digital deterrent. So first there's two different things I can do. One thing would be there's 3 doors, one here, and one here. So there's 3 ways in. If I wanted to utilize line crossing, I would enable detection by IP camera. I would then come in and select the schedule, which is the nighttime one I've already created. The duration is the amount of time the event until the next event can occur. So I would start drawing lines now. I'm going to draw a line here on this door where I know that if you have to come in this way, and I only care if you come into the room, right? I don't care. This isn't the office in here. This is dead space. I'm going to come to line 2. I'm going to draw a line that does this. Oh, I don't want it to go that way. I want it to go the other way. And then I'm going to draw a 3rd line under this door. It's going to, oops, I messed up line 2. So let's go back to line 2. Now let's go to line 3. Let's switch the direction. There we go. Now, if I display all areas, it's going to show me the lines that I have going into the room. I'm going to apply that. So I've set up the parameters. Something that's pretty unique, if you utilize SD cards in your cameras, you can select this advanced tab and then select SD storage card, original picture, target picture, and where we selected that snapshot feature, it's going to show you an overview of the camera, then a close-up of the individual, and it's going to store it to that SD card. Very unique feature in adding some redundant storage to where if somebody were to steal that recorder, hard drive, you still have a backup on the SD card of the camera. So we can come into detection target. We can then select whether that's a human, a motor vehicle, or a non-motor vehicle. And then we can adjust the sensitivity of that, again, based off of what we want to detect. By leaving it very standard at 50%, we're going to see a human, a motor vehicle, or a non-motor vehicle by default. And then we're simply going to go into trigger mode and tell it what we want to happen. So since it's going to be late at night, and I know that if somebody's in there, they've got past my alarm system or they've bypassed my alarm system, I want to be notified just like an alarm system. So I'm going to take a snapshot. I'm going to push a notification through the app. Buzzer the recorder is not that important. Pop-up video here is not that important because nobody's going to be there. An email, that might help, but I'm probably not going to check my email at 2 o'clock in the morning. But what I can do is I can do the IP camera digital deterrent feature here, and then I can do the IP camera light. By selecting those 2 triggers, that is a trigger of the camera. So it's going to trigger those 2 based off of a person or a non-motor vehicle, which I'm probably not going to see a motor vehicle go through that room, but based off the parameters that I set of those lines. Now, again, since this is kind of a mission critical, if you're in my office after hours and you bypass my alarm system, I can come over here too and say, I either want to trigger the alarm system without, triggering the monitoring station to dispatch, or I could say, you know what, if you're in there at that point and you bypass my alarm, I just want you to, the alarm system triggers. And this is actually set up, so I can't leave that there. So I can do alarm system, I can do different things. Now I can also have this happen. I can say, all right, so I don't want the alarm system to trigger, but I want all of my DD1s, I want my DD2 cameras going off, siren strobes, I want my side parking lot cameras, I want everything going off based off of this analytic event during that schedule. So, a lot of options that we can do with the digital Deterrent, and then all we have to do is simply hit apply to save that settings. So now the next time that somebody walked in and crossed those lines, when that business is closed in an office, all these things are going to happen because of that, with the digital Deterrent camera going off as well. So let's move these back over. I'm going to disable this. So now the next instance would be if we wanted to do intrusion in this area. And again, because it's after hours, very I'm not going to have very many false alarms in this area, so I can use an intrusion detection. So I could literally come in here and say, okay, here's one door here. Let's go to number 2. There's a third door here. And then I can just do, this is a zone right here to where if you come through this area. So you'll see that I'm able to utilize different zones, apply that. Just to reference here, I don't want to have to redo it, but this would act, so you got 2 different options, appear and cross. So this is an appear zone because somebody's going to appear in this area when that door opens or they walk through. A cross would be more of a top-down view to where you're going to be crossing those lines. And then the duration of the event. The next things we would do is come into the detection target. What are we looking for? And then finally, trigger mode. What do we want to happen? And again, what we were talking earlier is we want the IP camera. We want the digital Deterrent, the digital Deterrent light. Also from here, we have the capabilities like we just showed you to be able to trigger any other cameras as well too. See if we got a question here. Okay, I think we've already answered that one. We've answered that one. And again, if anybody has any questions up to this point, it's a big crowd, so I want to make sure we get everything answered. And again, can't get to it now, we'll get to it afterwards. We're running short on time, but we'll keep going to see if anybody wants to stay on a little longer. So at this point, what we've done is we've covered our DD1, our DD2, we've covered our Deterrent, we've covered our bullet, we've covered how to turn that on. A few different ways to access that camera directly is to either use the local IP address of the camera, get on that same subnet. But also if you're on a local network where that, if your laptop's remoted into that system, you can utilize the digital Deterrent features without using the recorder as well too. So, all you have to do to access well, at that level, you're going to have to remote into the camera directly. If you're on a recorder level and you want to look into the camera, change anything directly to it, I'm remoted in here. But if we go into a local recorder, we see a settings icon on the right side if we're in camera, and that allows us to, by selecting that camera gear icon with that camera. You're not seeing it here because I'm remoted in. On a local level, you'll see a gear icon that allows you to get direct access into that camera. And with that access, you can utilize things like your digital Deterrent features directly from the camera. You can turn on and off your DD1, DD2 cameras if they're doing it directly from the camera, and utilize the recorder. So you do have some features to make these standalone as well too. Let's see here. And if anybody wants me to cover anything in the next little bit, I'm kind of looking over my, I think we've covered almost everything that we wanted to cover plus more. I do want to show everybody, again, we covered a little bit about the dashboard. For those that want more of these webinars, and again, we've had a really good turnout. We appreciate everybody. It's showing us that they're being well taken. If you want access to the webinars on previously recorded webinars, you can come on here and view our previously recorded webinars, enter your information here. If you submit this, you'll see me there. But more importantly, you'll see here where we have access to any of the webinars. We're getting ready to probably put another 5, 6, 7 up here that we're continuing to edit right now and dial in, then we'll upload them. But if you're interested in any of our products, license plate recognition, you want to know how to use the LPR cameras, use this webinar here. If you want to know how to use the Speco mobile app, here's one. What's also unique about these is that you can share these too. So you have the capabilities of sending these to customers, sending them to dealers, sending them to anybody that, if you went over it with them once or twice and they want to take a deeper dive, it's a good opportunity to do so. If you want to know more about the dashboard, you're capable to do that through the SecurGuard dashboard webinar. All of these last about, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. If you also want to know more specifically about the DD1 and DD2 that we've went over today, there's a whole webinar on it. Cloud solutions, and we'll be putting this webinar up also. So we'll see if anybody has any questions. We've already answered that. But if we don't have any more questions, yeah, well, there we got one maybe. All right, so the question was, are all these features out of the box? Is it cloud-based, subscription required, any additional hardware to purchase? So that's a very good question. I probably should have covered that. So yeah, all the features that you're seeing here are out of the box. Speco does not charge anything for our analytics. They're packaged with your camera and with your recorder. So enjoy that. We do have cloud-based analytics and we do have cloud-based platforms. Nothing that I've shown you today is a cloud-based platform or a cloud-based product. That's a separate thing that we also have webinars on cloud-based items, to where if you scroll down here, you'll see cloud solutions. That'll tell you everything you need to know about our cloud solutions. No subscriptions required with any of our digital deterrents, and no additional hardware to purchase. If you want the DD1, the hardware comes with that DD1 and the hardware comes with the DD2. Same thing with your digital deterrent cameras. So that was a very good question. We appreciate that one. And also, but we'll take some time here to highlight a product before we hop off here. And if anybody's doing facial recognition at all with Speco, or if you do access control and you want to tie the two together, utilizing one of our facial recognition scanners, we're basically giving these things away right now. I think the last price I saw was around 150, 200 bucks. So highly recommend checking this guy out. This is our O2 TML. You do have to power it up with 12 volts, but it does go directly into your in-series recorder, plug and play, running the Speco protocol. So you can utilize the facial recognition on it just like you would a camera. And it takes immaculate photos because you're going to actually, it is a facial scanner. So it's going to tell you to come closer to the scanner until you get that 100% photo. Some unique things about this product here is that you can turn off the mask and the face recognition. I'm sorry, the mask recognition. You can turn off the temperature scanner that was used during COVID too, but currently a lot of people will like to say, hey, if your temperature is above 101, I don't want you coming in my location. So you still can have those features as well. It's indoor outdoor rated. It has a little light up top here, a wall mount. So you can actually mount this next to the door. It does have a Wiegand input and a Wiegand output on it. It has a door lock module built into it, and it utilizes 2 alarm outputs. So just like we were showing you how to trigger different things based off of a successful event, we can utilize facial recognition built into our facial recognition cameras. And this one also has facial recognition built in. So you can start a database of homeowners, of workers in an office, in a building, and allow them to utilize facial recognition to grant access to a door, a garage door. Lots of uses for this too, or if you're utilizing our parking lot system management, you can have somebody scan in to a camera that's walking around a building doing security checks. And let's see here, if I wanted to show you, we got a few minutes. We still got a lot of people here. So let's utilize our Speco dashboard. And I'm actually going to pull up that camera I have here to kind of show some people what that looks like. So I need to get into a house recorder here. Let me get into the house digital deterrent. And so what I've done here on this case is I've got the O2 TML sitting next to a garage door. Pardon the mess in the garage. But what I've done here is I'm utilizing this camera. There's a door strike literally 3 or 12 inches, 16 inches from where I've mounted it. I've drilled right over. I'm utilizing the door module on the back of it as a output to trigger whenever. So if you utilize the door module, you need to program that directly into the O2 TML to tell it upon a successful recognition, activate the door module. If you want to utilize the alarm output, you could power that strike through the alarm output. You'd have to power the strike locally and then put that in series to the strike. So that way, when you trigger the alarm output, it's going to either open or close that strike's relay. So what I have here, I'm running directly into the strike to the module. So what it looks like on a scanned event, if I go into intelligent analytics space, we'll say all events, or we'll just see successful recognition. Somebody do customize. I'm not sure when the last time that I scanned in here was. So you'll see here that my face here, I've scanned in to get in the door for successful recognition. So if I select one of those, you'll see my face, looks like it's late. And then you'll see the face that's in my database. As you'll see here that I can search for my face and it's going to show me all the faces here. What's unique too is it's going to show me my sample image, compared it, and give me a percentage. What's unique about the O2 TML is that because it's a facial scanner and wanting you to be within 6, 8, 12 inches of that scanner, you're going to get a 100% crisp image. But what's also unique is I can come on here and utilize the track feature. If I would have previously updated a map of the house, any O2 TML. So if I had a warehouse uploaded to PDF, I could put the O2 TML where it was at. But what's more unique is I can actually come on here and I can do track play, or oops, let me stop that. I can push play here and it's going to show me a scan of every scan that they made. And this one's obviously within the past month. So very unique feature that you can add already using your NRE recorder. You'll see there, it told me. So every time I scan, it's going to pull up on this track feature here and show me. And this is with not just the O2 TML, but this is with our facial recognition. There I am scanning in, door opening. Very unique product. And like I said, we are basically giving these things away right now. So I hope all these questions are how do we get them? Are all these features out of the box? We've answered that one. Yes. Other than the camera, what other appliances, hardware is required to set up, monitor, record, and store? How long can we keep the data? So with the recorder directly, you're going to have a hard drive in it, and that's going to depict how long you're going to be storing for. We do have our Secure Guard bridge that's available, I believe now. That is going to allow you to basically be able to do cloud storage on top of your local storage, or act as a recorder. It runs our BMS platform. And you would pick, and with our cloud service, I highly recommend watching that webinar on the cloud. We go over all the options you have, and your sales rep can give you more information about the price per plan. And do your solutions allow for two-way communications with the person on the camera? Yes, the digital deterrent bullet camera does. Also, this product here that I'm highlighting, which would be the O2 TML, I almost forgot to mention that. It does have built-in two-way audio capability too, out of the box. So it's got a built-in mic, built-in speaker to it as well. So if I'm utilizing this for access control, I could have it to where I can come into this system here and settings, an event. I'm going to work with facial recognition. So I can have it to where if somebody scanned and it was a unsuccessful recognition, so you'll see here that I've got successful recognition turned on. So under homeowners, it's going to allow access and trigger the door strike. I could work with the group that's called strangers, because anybody that's not in a group is going to be considered a stranger. So I can run that 24/7 and then put guest at door. And then I can come here and either do a push notification, but for this instance, I'd want to do like a pop-up. I can do a push notification to the app, a pop-up video to the recorder, to where if somebody's sitting there watching the monitor, it'll pop up that video of them there. Then they could pull up the live feed and carry on a conversation with that individual, or hear the mic that's on. So, and then we can also come in and utilize some of the outputs, some of the trigger points to be able to open that door too, especially from the app. So, a good console to where if I had 4 or 5 of these set up around the building and I wanted somebody live to be able to work with this OTML, I'd put an iPad next to it. I'd run the app, and anytime anybody's on there, I can literally, if it pops up on the screen, I can pull that output and open that door. So very unique features on what we can do with that OTML. And more than anything, it's priced right to move. There's only a limited number of them, I think now, a couple hundred. So great product. I can't speak. A big application for this right now that I'm seeing too is on gates. Obviously, we want a gate solution that utilizes a way to send notifications if a stranger's at that gate, but also the capabilities of being able to talk to them two-way too. Or if anybody that I have in that database, I want that gate to open, great, roll down the window, scan your face, gate opens. So a lot of capabilities with this camera too. If you want more information about that, it's the O2TML. Reach out to your salesperson. And if you have any pricing things, then reach out to your salesperson to reach out to me. So, multiple stand options for this. Highlight this camera, sell it. So if anybody has any questions with that, we went a little bit longer today. I want to thank everybody for staying on. If anybody wants to see anything particular, just drop it in the message box. And again, we will see you all. We will be emailing again. We'll be doing, again, 4 webinars next month. We'll have a schedule out for the next 2 months, I think, here in the next few days. If you want to know when our webinars are, event calendar under Learning Center. And then you can drop on and see all of the events that we have that are going to be on. Like right here, we're looking at access control. It's going to be Wednesday, April 3rd. Or we're way back here. So your events calendar is going to have all of your, here we are, all of your webinars, advanced analytics, the dashboard, if you want to know when they occur. Check it out there. Or if anybody has any email questions, you want to see anything custom, Sochalski@specotech.com. Again, I want to thank everybody for hopping on today. Anything you need, I'm going to recommend this webinar right here for everybody that's on here still. It's going to be an installer's checklist. It's a must for installers. If you're on here, this is one to get your team on June 7th at 4 p.m. We've just released a checklist of installer tools. It's going to run through 20 different mission critical things that from the moment you unbox that unit, when we unbox it, set up the username and password, 20 things that you must do with your client or your end user to be able to ensure a successful install that minimizes return trips, that minimizes just issues later on down the road. It addresses naming cameras. It addresses setting up line crossing intrusion, explaining to that customer what this does, demoing this particular thing to this customer. Highly recommend if you can get your techs on for this webinar right here. And we can send you that checklist regardless. Ask your rep for the installer's checklist. Highly recommend if you can hop on one with your techs at all this year, this is going to be the one you want to do it for. Bring pizza. It's going to last 1 hour. It's going to be tough to move through in an hour, but we're going to move through it quick. Hop on here, June 7th, 4 p.m. If anybody has any questions, drop them in. I want to appreciate your time, and thanks for staying a little late with me today. We will see you all next week.